Hi, keeping it real here. A quick video on Octopus Outgoing as I've moved across in February. Just wanted to give you my experience. In the early days of me having Octopus Outgoing, the rates were very high. Solar was not bad. Well, actually, solar was rubbish. But on this day, as you can see, the rates are like very high, 15p. So you try to reduce your loss. But the mistake I was making here is that I was forcing myself to export when I shouldn't have, because the rates, it would have been better to sort of use the electricity rather than export it. But this is a learning curve that we all go through, and hopefully this video will help you make that kind of decision, because it didn't make sense, because it still ended up costing me £2.13. So I don't think it would have cost me as much as that if I hadn't charged up overnight and then charged up in the middle of the day as well. And on the 5th, I've done exactly the same, charged up fully 100%, solar's not been there, and charged up in the middle of the day just so that I could export it later on during the day. This, as I said, in hindsight, I don't think I would do again. It would be left to just using the electricity that's, charge up overnight, as if you didn't have Octopus Outgoing. So if I didn't have Octopus Outgoing, it would have cost me about the same, because I wouldn't have charged up as much. But anyway, this is what you live and learn. And then post peak, I would have used the electricity. So maybe in this day, just use export half an hour rather than the hour I've done at 6 o'clock. But there you go. That's what this video is all about. And let's have a look at the rates as well, to see what made me do the decisions that I did. The rates were 11.10 average compared to 13, so I saved myself £2.20. On the 7th, fully charged the battery. However, solar kicked in, and that's why there's so much access. So I ended up having a lot of access during the morning, and ended up force exporting an hour and a half at 5:30 as well. And again, yeah, this is it's a hard one, because when you don't know what the weather's going to be like, you don't take a chance on it, and the weather turns to be good or bad, and you've either undercharged or overcharged your Powervolt battery. So this is a learning curve there. I've charged up 2.5 hours worth, not 3, which is good. That's about 80%. Used the Powervolt battery and then exported an hour and a half. Got a good rate for it, 24.57 average, which is good. So that's why I've done it. Hence, my day cost was 39p. So if I go through here, we should be able to see the rates. So I've charged up like at 10p's and all that, but I've been paid 45p back from 6 o'clock. So that's the reason I did it. So was worth exporting at that. Hence 39p for the day. But post peak, as you can see, even at 9 o'clock, it's 14 pence. So yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. On this day, it's definitely worth it. Hence, it'd be good to have a bigger battery. Anyway, and I paid 8.82 overnight. So I charged up at like an average of 9p, and then had a good solar day on top, and ended up with a 39p cost. On the 9th, I've charged up over an hour and a half overnight, but then solar's kicked in. Solar's been good, so I've had a lot of access solar, and it's been good. I mean, I've been exporting, what have I exported? 12.1 kilowatt hours during the day, which is quite pretty good, with an average of 9.58p. Obviously, solar in the day, the rates are like 4 pence, 5 pence a kilowatt, so hence your average is always going to be bad. There, it's 5.54 on that day, and then I've exported at 14 and 15 pence, so I'm quite happy with that. That was a good saving day. Again, mistake here. Well, kind of a mistake is don't dump all your Powervault too much in those hours. I've dumped too much. On the 10th, bad. The rates were like pretty similar all day, 9p, 10p. So I haven't charged up much, and used the house load solar, I call it, just enough solar to keep the house going. Haven't exported much, and my costs were quite high, 1.96. I charged up about an hour and a half's worth overnight. It's one of these days where you can't do anything. Just take the losses, as they say. It's a loss-making day, and basically without solar, without cheap rates, there's not much you can do about it. On this day, I've prejudged that solar is going to be bad, fully charged up the battery. Solar ended up not being bad, so I've had a lot of access that I've given away at 6p or 5p or whatever it was, and then dumped an hour and a half later on down the road. Not bad, because 6p for a house full of 5 adults working from home. So that day cost me 6p. Pretty good. I'm quite happy with that, even though I charged overnight. So yeah, let's have a look. What's on the 14th? 14th, fully charged the battery. Hardly any sun, so no solar activity, hardly any. There's a few bits and pieces there. Exported 2.2. Again, it's one of these loss-making days. Just take it on the chin and move on. Not much you can do about that. Just save what you can. The import rate was cheap, so there you go. The 15th, again, same, charged up overnight. Solar was rubbish, therefore ended up not exporting much apart from force exporting it, and that's just another money saving scheme here. Let's have a look at that. Same, charged overnight for about 2 hours. Let's have a look at the exporting. Exporting was going on at 13p. These are the kind of mistakes, I suppose. I was exporting at 15p, sorry. These are the kind of things I now kind of temper my exports a bit more. If I find that it's only 1 or 2 pence, then it's not worth even exporting. Just leave it. So that was that day. 68 pence cost me on 17th of March. Just looking at that, it was one of these days where the rates are all even and solar was not there or thereabouts, and all I've done is boost charged in the afternoon to give me some export. Nothing, shouldn't have bothered. On this day, solar's bad, charged up fully overnight, and then just use the battery, so no exports going on as such. It's the only exports are the bleeding that Powervault does. But yeah, so that's what life would have been like if I didn't have exports, and the rates were high. The rates are quite high, 11 pence. So you've got to look at that. Now this one, the rates. This is where I've charged up half an hour just to get me over an expensive period before solar kicks in. So I knew solar was going to be good, and so I've kept my grid use quite low by not charging up the Powervault, and then just let solar charge up the battery during the day. So that was a good solar day. Just by looking at that, I can tell. Again, haven't considered post peak rates. Ended up using a fair bit afterwards. The next day, fully charged the battery, thinking solar is going to be brilliant. It wasn't. On this, just going through a few days here, this is where I've kind of hedged my bets. Just charged up the Powervault for an hour and a half, and then used it during the expensive periods. But then solar's kicked in midday with a lot of access, and so it turned into a good day where cost me nothing, cost me 0 pence, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But this is with the assistance of good solar. Without solar, you couldn't have done it. So let's keep going. What else was there? Oh, the import rate was 10p. There you go. Okay, 23rd of March. I've only charged up 30 minutes just to take me over an expensive period. And solar was just enough for house loads. You can see it there. I've boost charged in the midday just so that I've got enough for peak times and for exporting. This is where there's no solar. Rates are sort of fairly steady till about the afternoon, so I've just had enough. Yeah, 10p, 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 11p. So what I've done here is I've thought, well, if I'm going to charge up, I might as well wait to see further down the road. And so this is like not having solar at all and not having a power vault either. So that's what these rates are. And again, these are the kind of judgments you have to make. At 3 o'clock, the rate was 9.48, so I've just charged up at 9.48 just so that I can export at 15 of, what was it, 30, yeah, it'll be 14, 15 pence. So again, just trying to save a bit of money, not a lot of money, but it's okay. So I charged up at 9p, exported at 15. So on the 24th of March. On the 24th here, there you can see it was just a bad day. You've got to take it on the chin. On the 25th, the rates were bad, solar was bad. No, well, solar wasn't bad, it was just enough to cover the house. I've charged up in the midday and middle of the day, and then just exported and used it during the day. During just post-peak. Used it as much as possible post-peak. 26, fully charged the battery pretty much. Yeah, it's about 80%. Not enough solar, so just boost charged it midday or middle of the day, and then exported some just to save money. I've saved 50p. And as you know, further down you'll see all of these 50p savings, 20p savings, all of them make a difference. You know, it's surprising how much difference they make. But yeah, on this day, the import rates were they weren't low, but they were low, 7p. So I've charged up, the power vault with the 7p and the 8p rates. It's just saving money. That's all it was. And, what else can you do? If without power vault, it would have cost me 130-ish. There you go. On that day, fully charged the battery, except was expecting no solar, but the solar was there. So I ended up with a lot of access because obviously the power vault was full, and then exported that and recouped some of my costs by exporting 10.1 kilowatts hours, and ended up with a 43 pence cost. Which is significant, instead of a £1.24, it was a 43 pence. So good saving. Import unit rate average cost was good as well, 6.59. On this day, obviously, just looking at that, charged up the battery 2.5, so that's 80%. Used the battery during the day, did my usual boost charge in the middle of the day, and then exported at 13 to 14 pence. So it was okay. 62 pence saving. Ended up the day costing me a penny. So not bad at all. Well worth doing. It was a plunge day, so therefore the rates were really low. Well, I call it a plunge day, but it's actually just low rates. And on the 29th again, the unit cost was low, 3.99 pence. And I've kind of exported a lot of solar. You can see the amount of solar as well. It was just looking at that, I can say solar was about 15 or 16 kilowatts hours that I've generated. And then it's taken me to near midnight before I've had to use it. And in fact, just before midnight, the rate was low, so I've actually charged up half an hour for the next day, for the 30th. So this day is actually showing a bit of what my 30th cost was. But there you go. And on the 30th, yep, there you go. I've charged up a half an hour before midnight and half an hour after. And then it's just been reasonable solar. Not fantastic amounts of solar because the access wasn't there, but it's been okay. And I paid 8p overnight, or less than 8p overnight, and then I've exported further down the road at 15p as well. So it was a good day to save money. It's 27p, and then the 30th, let's have a look. Sorry, the 30th is done, and then we look at the input costs, export costs, and on the last day, the 31st, bad solar day, charged up an hour overnight, used it as much as possible, but just charged up in the middle of the day just to save some money, not having to pay over peak. So yeah. Now what I want to do here is just to show what my total costs were for the month of March, and this is there we go. So the cost of March was $29.23, including VAT and standing charge, compared to $49.95 if I didn't export. Okay, we must take into consideration that there were days where I was charging up in the middle of the day just so that I could export, but taking that away, I've saved about £20, I think. Yeah, about £10. Yeah. So not a bad saving in comparison to not having export. Quite happy with that. 509 kilowatts used, 201 kilowatts exported, with an average import unit rate of 9.80 and an export rate of 13.49. And there's my standing charge of 21p. So not a bad month. £29. I have to, as I've said before, make up £14.50 a month, which was my deemed export average over a year. And as you can see, I've smashed that by £13. So quite happy with that. Export does make sense with Agile, because Agile at the moment has just been horrendously expensive. So, not worth having unless you've got export and a battery. But I hope this is useful to somebody, but that's my experience. Subscribe if you haven't, and thank you for watching.